This mystery begins on November 24th, 1971. Now, this was the eve of Thanksgiving that year, so it was a big travel day with many people trying to get home to see family and relatives. In Portland, Oregon, a man under the name Dan Cooper buys a ticket for $20 to go to Seattle, Washington. This would be through Northwest Orient Airlines and on Flight 305 that would depart at 2:45 p.m. This was expected to be a relatively easy and stress-free flight, only typically lasting 30 minutes. Now, it's worth noting that this was before 9/11, so there wasn't the kind of airport security in the 70s that we have now. They didn't even ask you to show ID or any kind of passport in order to get a ticket. Now, it's at this point that D.B. Cooper gets on the plane. He's described by witnesses as being in his mid-40s with mirrored sunglasses on, as well as a business suit including a tie and a white shirt. He's also described as having black hair and brown eyes. It is also worth noting that he had a briefcase and a brown paper bag with him as well. After getting on the plane, D.B. Cooper didn't do anything out of the ordinary. He sat down in seat 18C and lit a cigarette, and then also ordered a bourbon and soda from the stewardess. Now, shortly after takeoff at 3 p.m., D.B. Cooper ushers over a stewardess and hands her a note. She just puts it in her pocket, thinking that maybe he's flirting with her, and he looks at her sternly and says, "Miss, you better read that note. I have a bomb." So she opens up the note and sees that he has written that he has a bomb in his briefcase and he would like her to sit next to him during the flight. The stewardess is now starting to get really worried at this point and calls over one of her colleagues, and D.B. Cooper then opens up his briefcase to both of them and shows them a mess of wires that he has in his briefcase. He claims that this is a bomb, and he holds two of the wires together and says that if he puts them together, the bomb will explode on the plane. Cooper calmly tells the stewardesses that he'll only blow up the plane if they don't meet his demands. So they decide to get the captain involved, and he quickly tells the control tower of the situation. And the control tower notifies the FBI. Now, meanwhile, Cooper lets the crew know that he wants $200,000 cash in $20 bills to be placed in a knapsack, as well as 4 parachutes, which include 2 front chutes and 2 back chutes. The crew, control tower, and FBI quickly agree to these demands, and the FBI contacts Sea First Bank in Seattle to get the money. Now, these $20 bills are special because they have a pre-recorded serial number on them, so that if anybody tries to use them or find them, they can be traced back to the D.B. Cooper case. Meanwhile, Cooper is just chilling and drinking his bourbon and soda, smoking his cigarette, and relaxing. He does not seem to be frantic or really with a care in the world. So once the plane lands, he tells them to taxi to a remote part of the runway so that it's isolated and away from everyone, and it's there that he exchanges the 36 passengers and a few crew members for the money and the parachutes. However, he keeps some of the crew on as he demands them to fly to Mexico City, as well as to stay under 10,000 feet throughout the flight. The captain notifies him that there is not enough fuel to make it to Mexico City, so he gives them the option of Reno or Phoenix. Cooper then agrees to go to Reno. Meanwhile, there's 2 Air Force jets following the plane at the entire time to track its movements. At 7:42 p.m., Cooper demands that the only stewardess on board join the rest of the crew in the cockpit so that he can be alone in the plane. What exactly happens next is unknown because there was no one in the body of the plane with Cooper throughout this time. However, it is known that at 8:02 p.m., a light went on in the cockpit, notifying the captain that a rear door had been opened. Then, it's believed at 8:10 p.m. that Cooper jumped out of the airplane with the money and the parachutes, never to be seen or heard from again. When the plane lands in Reno, the FBI is really quick to do a search and try to find any evidence that might lead them to Cooper. However, it seems like he has taken almost everything with him, including the ransom note that he handed to the stewardess. The only thing he left behind was a JCPenney's clip tie. In a desperate attempt to get some sort of leads, the FBI puts together a composite sketch of D.B. Cooper within hours of the event. They put it out throughout all local media, hoping that someone will see it and recognize who this man is. The next day, on Thanksgiving of 1971, one of the biggest manhunts in American history takes place outside of Ariel, Washington. The FBI goes searching through these woods for any kind of evidence of D.B. Cooper. However, they come up empty-handed, making D.B. Cooper one of the FBI's most wanted to this day. It wasn't until 1980 that there was finally a break in this case. A young boy walking along the Columbia River near Vancouver, Washington, found a decaying bag of money. He opened it up and saw that it was all $20 bills, and he gave it to the FBI, remembering the D.B. Cooper case. Now, through the serial numbers on the bills, they were able to trace this back to the same bills that they had given Cooper. So this was a big lead, and it caused a lot of attention, as well as many searches along the area for any other evidence of Cooper. However, they came up empty-handed, and there are many theories trying to explain this case to this day. There's no shortage of theories when it comes to this case, and some have gathered more traction than others. The first theory, which has long been a favorite of the FBI as well as law enforcement, is that Richard Floyd McCoy did it. Now, the reason why fingers point towards him is because he committed an almost identical airplane hijacking just 5 months after Cooper disappeared. The similarities are uncanny, with McCoy handing the stewardess a note saying he had a bomb, just like Cooper, requesting 4 parachutes, and even hijacking the same make and model of plane as Cooper did. He also jumped out of the back of the plane as Cooper was said to have done. Adding support to this theory, McCoy's family identified an item that Cooper had left behind as belonging to McCoy, although we don't know what this item is because law enforcement has never said. However, law enforcement did clear McCoy as a suspect, stating that he didn't look enough like the composite sketch to be him. I guess we'll never know because McCoy ended up dying in a shootout with the FBI, which is actually kind of crazy and ironic in a weird way, but many people still speculate that he could have been D.B. Cooper. Another suspect who has gotten a lot of attention is Kenneth Christianson. Now, the reason why people think he might have done it is because he was head flight attendant with Northwest Orient Airlines, which is the same airlines that Cooper hijacked. The reason why people think he could have done it is because many people speculate that this was an inside job and it had to have been done by someone who knew the aircraft. Most importantly, a flight attendant who had gotten a good look at Cooper's face looked at Christianson and said that they were the same exact person. However, for the same reason that McCoy was said to not be a suspect, Christianson was dismissed as well. The FBI said that he didn't look enough like the composite sketch to be him, despite a flight attendant who had seen Cooper saying that it could have been him. This seems really strange to me, and I feel like he is a very reliable suspect in this case. A third suspect is named Robert Rackshaw. Now, the reason why he's gotten so much attention is because he was really well known by the FBI. He even committed more than 30 crimes throughout the 1970s and looked eerily similar to the sketch of Cooper. Adding to this, he had just been kicked out of the military 5 months before the Cooper attack. He even had a lot of knowledge about explosives, aviation, and how to parachute that he all learned through his military training. However, despite all of this evidence, he was discarded by the FBI in 1979 as not being a suspect. The last and most controversial theory regarding D.B. Cooper is that he didn't survive the jump. Many scientists have tried to chart the journey, even putting in the correct wind patterns and the weather for that day, and stating that he probably ended up in Merwin Lake or Lewis River, which were freezing at that time. Scientists say that he would have died within minutes had he fallen in those rivers, and the parachute that he had was non-maneuverable, meaning even if he saw that he was about to land into a body of water and freeze or drown, he couldn't have moved out of the way. So many people think that he died because of this. This theory explains why the money was found around these bodies of water. However, his body and his clothing, as well as the parachute, have never been found or located to this day. So many people think that this means that he's still out there. Despite all these potential leads and theories, the FBI decided to close the case in 2016. However, people have not stopped talking about it ever since it happened. It's crazy to think that someone got away with such a big crime, and we still don't know what happened to him to this day. Personally, I think McCoy is a really potential suspect. I think that he definitely could have done it, especially the fact that he did a copycat crime just 5 months later is really mind-blowing to me. However, I do think maybe he did die. I find it really hard to believe that someone could jump from that high and survive, but who knows? I mean, stranger things have happened, and Mccoy did survive a similar jump, so I feel like he could have done it twice. But let me know what you guys think. Thank you so much for watching, and please leave a comment of another case that you think I should cover in my next video, or what you think happened to DB Cooper. I'd really love to talk to you guys about it in the comments. Thank you so much. Bye!